All right, today for segment one, it's going to be a long video, but it's only going to be one video this week. And we're going to talk all about the action scene in Conan 2D20. So we kind of went over the rules last time, which did take a little bit of time, but now we're going to see how you put that all together. The rules, the momentum, the doom. Is it Chronicle points in this one, or is that Mutant No, that must be Mutant Chronicles. Whatever it's called in this one, I forget already. How we manage all of that together to play, to have the big bads, and to have your characters feel epic and Conan-y. That's right. That's a word. Conan-y is a word. If you say it on the internet, it becomes real. Because we believe that role-playing games should take place in fantastic worlds. The focus of the game should be on role-playing and having a good time. The core values of hashtag RPGate and any, literally any, no, I should say every, not any, every good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. The charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national, nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the description below for the link to where you can make your hopefully tax-deductible donation. And finally, join us Thursday and Saturday evening on a very special twitch.tv/legionofmyth to watch Heathen Dog and his team of dirty casuals play multiplayer games for your mockery and enjoyment. Is that after-school special enough?
That was good. That was good. We just need a teenager falling out a window because of PCP, and we're good.
There you go. And here on our YouTube channel, you can watch these game-related segments live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time, or check out the Friday night show stream, where our panel of guests opine, comment, and editorialize on the TTRPG hobby as a whole. That's right, the TTRPG hobby. Here we go. And remember, it's a live stream. It's a podcast. It's not a step-by-step tutorial. We're going to tangent each other. In fact, it's kind of becoming a game. How often can we get tangent? No, it's not. But like, subscribe, and share. Okay, Heathen Dog, if you can monitor chat.
Sure.
And I'm going to, I've got to present the book before I can scroll down it. So let's go back up to the.
So we are now going to see exactly what it takes to play on the ground. Rubber meets the road. You want to play? Apparently, this is how you do it. I want to know. I'm an inquiring mind.
And just so everybody's aware, we're going to be doing action scenes today, chapter 5. We'll go through all that. Okay. Next week is going to be 6 and 7, and then we're done.
Woo!
Now, doesn't mean that this other stuff isn't important. It's just we don't need to go over the Hyborian world. You can read, R.E. Howard's Conan stuff. And some of this stuff is kind of game master only type things, or it's not important. It's not relevant to the game itself for me. Okay,
for a player.
Yeah, for a player. It was just like we skipped a bunch of the factions and so forth in Mutant Chronicles. This is about the gameplay. So this week, again, action scenes. Next week, equipment sorcery, and then we move on to a similarly themed type game, though more D&D in orientation, which is Astonishing. Oh no, he got rid of all that title. Just Hyperborea.
There it is.
And that will be for the month of April. All right, so Heathen Dog's going to also, not only is he going to read chat, but he's going to have to keep me in a little bit on pace here for this. And the reason I say that is because I skimmed through this and I was really irked at the way the chapter was set up. Maybe it works for gameplay, I don't know, but Mutant Chronicles was set up much better than this book in terms of how the chapters are presented. And I wanted to break this up into like 2 or 3 segments, and I couldn't just because everything's just kind of jumbled in. So hopefully we keep this interesting, though. So turn sequence. Let's start with that. In an action scene, the passage of time is compressed and structured, broken down into rival rounds and turns. Nice bold face there, so we know that they are separate concepts. Every round, any character present in the scene has an opportunity to act. This opportunity is known as the character's turn. Okay? Each round encompasses... What's that?
So far, so good.
Yeah, it makes sense. This opportunity, each round encompasses several characters' turns, and once all characters have taken a turn, that round concludes and a new round begins. All right, so that seems pretty normal game-ish, right?
Sure.
Next. Rounds have no specific or fixed duration.
Okay, here comes the cinematic portion of the gameplay.
It's actually something I approve of. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. They do not represent a specific, consistent length of time, but rather a snapshot of the intense activity occurring over a period of time. In a fierce clash between small groups of warriors, a round may represent a few seconds. Battle across a massive castle may require rounds comprising of a minute or more, as the combatants jockey for position within the environment. A battle between ships on the Villiers, I hope I said that right, may track several minutes of time between rounds as vessels trim sails and put oars in the water. Regardless of how much time a round may represent, each character takes a single turn during each combat round. All right, once per turn, the character can perform each of the following: a single standard action, a minor action, and any number of free actions. Remember in Mutant Chronicles where we kind of had like hangups with how some of the terms were used?
Right.
My guess is this one's actually going to be better.
Okay.
So the character may exchange a standard action for a minor action and or a minor action for any number of free actions. Outside the character's turn, no other actions are allowed other than reactions in response to the actions of others. Lots of use of action there.
I got a problem here. The character may exchange a standard action for a minor action. I understand that one. And or a minor action for any number of free actions. The problem is in bold, it says during your turn, you may take any number of free actions. So why would I give up a minor action for something that I can already do?
That is a question that I can't answer at this second in time.
Okay.
Turn order. During a round, the turn order. One of the things about the 2D20 games is that you'll find consistent is that players act first.
Yes. Unless the game master pulls some shenanigans with the doom.
With the doom points and
yeah.
So let's just leave it there. Normally the player characters act first. And the player characters can negotiate amongst themselves which player will act next. Okay.
That's actually really good for inter-party strategy.
Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about, well, I'm holding my action until after he goes. You don't have to look at things like that. You're just like, okay, so I'm waiting for you, so you may as well go first. Now, some of the lore peers will be like, well, that ruins role play because you're not actually role playing it out. Well, you know what? It's a game also, folks. Remember, it's a role-playing game. You're going to have a little bit of out-of-character communication to make sure that stuff can happen. And I got a super chat over here.
Yeah, I started because we haven't gotten to what crap he was talking about yet.
Okay. Let's see. After all players and non-player characters have taken their actions in a round, that round is over. 1 point of momentum is removed from the combined momentum pool, and new round begins.
So if you remember, guys, your momentum is built upon using extra successes from your actions, but every single round it drains by 1 until it reaches 0. You can't get negative, obviously. So keep building it up or use it before you lose it, because if you have 1 left and you're the last guy to go, you may as well use it because it's going to go away anyway.
Okay. Seizing initiative. At the start of the round, before anyone has acted, or at any time immediately after a player character has finished acting, and before another player character has begun to act in this turn, the game master can spend 1 point of doom. Oh, it's like Heathen Dog was just talking about this. To interrupt the player character's turn and allow a non-player character to immediately take a turn. That A distinction is important there because it only works for one NPC to break that initiative.
Right.
And those actions are resolved normally. And let's look at some.
The game master could spend more than 1 doom if he wants to.
Yes.
Yeah. So whatever. And
I do like the art in this game.
Players actually like that because, drain the game master of cheat codes. Okay.
Right. Again, I feel that's too gamey, but we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Indecision. This is one of those things that I think needs to be. Remember last week when Sean was talking about implicit versus explicit?
Yes.
That's something I'm going to hold with me forever because it is such a succinct way of saying a lot of the stuff that I point out. This is another example of that. This has always been implicit in the games that I've played, but modern gamers like more explicit. Hey, you got to tell me this. Well, this is a perfect example of that. Indecision. If the players spend too much time deliberating and discussing their choices during an action scene rather than taking action, the game master can add 1 point of doom to the doom pool as a warning that the player characters are ceding the initiative to their opponents. I know Crafty's talked about that a lot.
Yeah,
He
he's
likes to
talked
do
about
that.
his little glass. Yeah, his little beads, and put it in the glass jar. Make the sound.
Yep.
Ting, ting, ting.
Kind of as a
ting.
hint. If the player's deliberation continues, the game master can take additional doom points, warning the players periodically until they act, or until the game master chooses to spend the doom, allowing any non-player characters to act first. Man, I could pile that stuff up. I got a big jar. I've got a mayonnaise jar of doom.
Exactly. You know, the whole thing about that is every single time you're you get dinged, it's like football. You're in the huddle too long, you get a penalty. Ding. You get a penalty, a doom point. You're taking too long. Oh, guess what? An NPC gets to go first because you're all babbling like a mother hens, and they're just going to try and kill you now. Okay.
I agree. All right, surprise and ambushes. Sometimes one group of combatants may try to surprise or ambush another group. All right, well, let's see what that is. It's a struggle, okay? Remember when we talked about struggles last week? No, I don't. Well, go look at last week's video. We talked about struggles. Post tests.
Well, not last week, week before.
That's true. Right. Okay. The last set of videos for this. Under most circumstances, the ambushing side attempts a stealth test, which the ambushed side resists by attempting an observation test. Makes sense? However, the players and game master are free to suggest alternative ways to secure surprise. A lot of games are moving to this, and I like that because sometimes you can use your intellect.
See it coming.
Well,
sometimes you can't see it coming. The ambush is too good, or it sucks so bad. It was like the ambush was put together by small children. Anyone can see it coming. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, this example is really good right here. Perhaps a sudden attack during a negotiation could be handled by persuade and resisted by insight. The feasibility of these plans is up to the game master to approve. I've been in situations where sometimes intellect is more important than your stealth ability for what you're trying to do. But, obviously, for the most part, it's going to be stealth and observation because it's going to be sneaky versus do I see him out there?
Right. But the example of using persuade is the common bait tactic for an ambush where you have a woman.
Yeah, let's just say the hot chick
in the middle of the road, pretending like she has a broken leg, and you have to persuade the characters to drop their guard to come over and try and help, and then surprise, and the bandits attack. Stuff like that would be like a persuade. I get it. Okay.
If the group attempting surprise succeeds at the struggle, each character on that side reduces the difficulty of the exploit action by 1 step. Remember, difficulty is how many successes you need. And
exploit action.
What's that?
What's an exploit action?
Didn't we look at that last time?
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember either.
Awesome.
I thought we looked at it because it looked familiar.
See page 96.
Okay.
Oh, it tells you where to go. So apparently the book believes that we're not going to remember either. That's nice.
So we're on 115 right now. Let's look at 96. I thought we read that. It seemed oh geez, it's like 5 pages
89.
off.
Jesus.
No, there's 7 pages off. Can't math. Oh, now my computer's waiting to catch up. Oh, now I'm not doing anything right now. It's just doing what it wants. Okay, so let's try that again. What page were we supposed to be on?
96.
Okay, so let's do 10. Was it? Did I say 7? I don't know.
103.
That's different.
There it is.
You see it?
Explicit action. It could be in the test difficulty. No.
Trains test difficulty.
No, that's the test difficulty. That's not it. We're on 97 now.
Yeah. Is it bad?
Maybe Crafty can tell us in a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'm going back to 115.
Okay.
Of the exploit action by 1 step. I wonder if this is a general term. You're exploiting a situation.
Maybe.
I wouldn't want it to be, well, whatever. And X immediately at the start of combat. Non-player characters do not need to spend Doom to gain this. And the Game Master may not spend Doom to override this. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, your ambush either works or doesn't work. If the group attempting surprise fails at the struggle, the winners may choose to add 2 points to Doom or spend 1 fortune point to gain the benefits of surprise instead. The group attempting surprise fails. Oh, so this is an opportunity to let... Okay, I see how this is working. The game focuses on the players, not the NPCs,
not the
right?
die roll. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you failed to surprise the enemy, but if you give the Game Master 2 Doom points, you succeed.
Or spend 1 fortune point. Yeah.
Or spend a fortune point and you succeed. I don't like that. You know, there's chance in everything, and if you had a bad setup or bad roll, then sometimes you screw up. You shouldn't have a parachute for that.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean that is what's baked into this game.
I understand.
Movement, range, and abstract zones. And I know Crafty sent me something on Discord.
Yes.
And I think we got that super chat that we'll look at.
Yep, we're looking at it right now. Sent you an example of zones for clarification.
I mean,
because zones can be a little weird.
Okay, that's what he sent me for the picture.
I don't see a clarification. I see a picture.
Okay, when we read, if it works like Forbidden Lands, I get it. If it doesn't, well then maybe this works different. How do I close this damn thing? Hey. Oh. Oops. There we go. All right. In battle, knowing where everyone is can be of vital importance in determining both absolute position, where you are in the battlefield, and relative position, how far you are from a given friend or foe, is important. Rather than track everything in precise distances, however, this matter is handled using abstract zones. When we do the Free League stuff starting in May, you're going to see that, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but something very similar there. And I tend to like the zone concept myself. An environment represents the battlefield as a whole. It could be a building, city street, an area of wilderness, or something of that sort. An environment is divided into a number of zones based on the terrain features present in the area. For example, a building may treat individual rooms as distinct zones, using the internal walls as natural divisions for range and movement. A city street may focus zones around features like shop stalls, the fronts of buildings, alleyways, and so forth. So that didn't explain it as well as I'd hoped. But so zones in again, like the Free League games also, they have somewhat of a distance to them. I know that Free League actually says approximately this long, but it could be a copse of trees. It could be an open oasis. It could be each individual room. Because to move from one to the other isn't just like, whoop, I'm there. You're going out the door. You're looking hopefully both ways, maybe checking to see if you're getting attacked, right, to defend yourself, and then turning around and looking into that room as you're going into it. Now that might seem like I can do that in 3 seconds. You can, but when you're carrying a pack, when you've got a sword, when you expect people to attack you, that's a bit of movement. It's a bit of consideration. Also, firing an arrow. You could actually have a hallway where that is one full zone right here, but each individual room is another zone.
Because it's not an open area. If you're shooting into a room, there is a window or a doorway you're shooting through, and you have to angle yourself properly to get the arrow where you want it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then you're not going to be able to hit anything. So that means you have to take more time.
So let me look at this. I'm not sure I actually agree with Crafty on this in this map. And it could just be me being pedantic on this because, yeah, I can to some degree. It's like, I don't know if I would consider these 2 different zones. Maybe I would, I don't know if each dot is supposed to be a zone. I certainly would not do that personally, unless it's a really large area. I could see this as being a zone. You can see my mouse moving, right?
Yeah.
And then I could see this being another zone. Possibly. So I'm moving from here to here. So, I mean, I hope each one of these dots isn't considered a zone. That is way too many. It could be because I'm not used to Conan though too. But yeah, so we'll see how it handles the ranges. I don't want to keep speaking about Free League when we're not talking about a Free League game. But yeah, I don't know if Crafty's putting in chat. Those dots are for arrow zones. We'll see how it works out here. Again, I don't want to judge it when I haven't don't have the experience with it like I do the other game that I play that uses zones. So zones are often defined in 3 dimensions, so the game master may choose to map multiple floors of a building connected by stairs, ramps, or ladders. A relatively simple battlefield may consist of 3 to 5 significant zones, while complex environments may have more. More zones are typically better than fewer as they provide a greater variety of movement options and tactical opportunities, but this can take more planning on the part of the game master. Okay, so this game does actually run it a bit different than Free League. Because zones are of no fixed size, they can be varied to accommodate the game master's preference for a given scene and represent certain other factors. For example, let's see if this one's better. A battle in the forest may be divided into many small zones amongst the trees, and a couple of larger zones representing clearings.
Sure.
The larger size of the zone helps convey quicker movement and easier target acquisition in open areas. Okay, so
that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you can move maybe 20 feet in dense forest at the same rate as 100 feet in an open clearing.
Yeah.
Because
and
you can
with
move
that
faster.
in mind, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's harder to get a target in the dense forest because all you got to do is move 10, 20 feet away and then move a little bit to the right. You're behind 4 trees. I mean, you're not going to hit. You can't see them.
Right, or outside the can't see them, arrows are going to be bouncing off leaves, branches, and so forth in the tree, so it's not going to be able to fly as far as you can shoot right across that open area.
Right.
So, yeah, I get this. It does make sense. So I take back a little bit of what I say about those zones. He says he's got another picture here. Stop inundating me with pictures. Yeah, this one makes more sense. If you're standing here, the character's here. You have a close range attack there, medium range attack there, and a long range attack there. Now, why it's divided up and that's medium and not long, I don't know. But it's supposed to be abstract. So it's probably because it's just one zone over.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, that is what it is. It's one zone over. So, and you notice that the zones aren't these concentric circles. In fact, it probably would have been better not to have those concentric circles. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I don't know.
Because each zone is going to be a different size based on its natural terrain features.
Yep. Exactly.
So those concentric circles are basically a guide usable only in open areas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it's relating to whatever this range marker is here, but from the character, forget what it says in the blue and forget the concentric circles. If you're next to the character, if you're in this zone, you're at close range. If you're one zone over, you're at medium range. And if you're 2 zones over, you're at long range. And that, again, I do understand that because the Free League games do something very similar. So. However, zones should not be too complex to describe quickly. For most situations, a few seconds should be all that's needed to describe zones in their relative positions, or to sketch out on a rough map.
Hang on a second. Crafty says those circles are arrow zones because arrows travel in straight lines and they are affected most importantly by distance. But reactionary principle gaming says, I don't like the arrow zones. I don't like them either. I don't like them either. Because if the zone is defined by terrain markers, that is going to sharply define arrow distances as well, because walls and shrubbery and stuff is going to stop you from doing proper things with arrows, easy things with arrows. It's going to get harder. So the ranges is going to change with the terrain to make your shot harder, which means it's going to be medium or long range.
Yeah, I don't like it either. It's just off the cuff. It might work well in play, especially with how this game does the success system with the difficulty numbers. So I don't want to be too hard on it, but I think, hate to say this, but I think Free League handles it better. But
okay. We can go straight to distances now since we're talking about it. And what does the distance modifier actually do? I mean, what does it do? Like, oh my God, I'm not in close range anymore. Why does that matter?
Well, I did want to read at least this first sentence here. Okay. Because it'll come into play later. Individual zones can and often should have terrain effects defined when the game master creates them.
Yeah.
So don't add in weird stuff after the fact, number one. And number two, you should know what the terrain is going in. You should know why that zone is a particular zone. And not just because I scribbled it out like that on the sheet. Is there a river that cuts it off? Is it just, you know what? It's gone pretty far. At some point here, it has to be another zone. We're outside in the open prairie. Is it a hill? Whatever it happens to be. Again, we already talked about inside. Just know why it's a zone and what's going on there. All right. So we don't need that. So yeah, I guess that distances is next. So movement and ranged attacks need some sense of distance to make them meaningful. In combat, the relative placement of zone determines this distance. To keep things simple and fluid, range is measured with 4 categories and 1 state. A whole state? The state of reach is when an object or character is within arm length of the character. Okay, that makes sense. Let's just go to the next one.
If you can touch
Close.
them, you're within reach.
And so reach would be when you can poke them in the eyeball around right there.
Or poke them with your sword or whatnot.
Sure. Close range is defined as the zone the character occupies at that time. The entire zone.
Mm-hmm.
So going back here, this entire zone, this entire green shaded area is close. Not for arrows, apparently. Medium range is defined as any zone adjacent to the character's current zone. And I don't think I have to show you that on the map again, but you can look at the yellow. Long range is defined as objects and creatures 2 zones away from the character's current zone. Got it? And long range imposes a +1 step of difficulty to all actions.
Okay, medium range does nothing for difficulty?
Not that I saw. It says a character can use minor action move from a point. Medium range is distance. Nope.
Okay. All right. Hang on. So you can use a regular movement to go anywhere within close range to get within reach. But to move to medium range, you must use your minor action to move to a medium range away. Long range, you have to use a standard action to move to long range. And if you're going to do anything at that, you get a 1-step difficulty penalty on all actions when attacking from this range. So if you don't move and you attack someone at long range rather than move to it, you can save your standard action, but your attack, which your standard action is used for, is going to be harder.
And I think it describes this more later. That's why I kind of skipped it here. I might be wrong, but I thought I remember skimming it a little bit later. And extreme range, you can't move to extreme range. Not in one turn.
Extreme range is a distance of 3 or more zones. And it doesn't give any minuses, or it doesn't talk about ranged attacks.
Most things can't go that far.
Well, fair.
I'm sure we'll see when it comes to arrows that maybe they can, but distance and communication. Do I need to read miniatures? No, I don't. All right. Distance communicate. Characters often want to communicate. If I remember correctly, it's whispering, talking, shouting, but let's find out. Yeah, a character can communicate with someone at medium range, but only at a raised volume, shouting rather than talking. At long and extreme range, a character can shout to draw attention, but conveying any depth of meaning or understanding someone beyond basic instructions or information is unlikely. That's why yodeling was invented. Distance and perception. Now, this will hopefully answer your question for you. The further away something is, the harder it is to notice. Okay?
Sure.
In game terms, this means that characters and objects in distance zones are harder to observe or identify than those nearby. Thank you for reiterating the point. A character increases the difficulty of observation tests by 1 step when trying to notice creatures and objects at medium range, by 2 steps when dealing with creatures and objects long range, and by 3 steps when trying to discern things at extreme range. That all makes sense. A creature that isn't trying to avoid notice requires a simple D0 observation test under normal circumstances. Creature attempting a stealth test makes the opposing test more challenging because the opposition becomes a struggle. Remember, observation versus stealth? Creatures or objects that are particularly noticeable, casting a spell, roars or shouting, or fast-moving or brightly colored object, or large, your common dragon, may reduce the difficulty further.
That's understandable.
I'm not going to go into other senses.
I can smell them.
Movement and terrain. Do we have another super chat?
I already put it up.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Thank you, Crafty. Starshipsandsteel.com. It's a huge resource for 2D20 clarification and various house rules that people have come up with to make it more streamlined.
Okay. So moving around requires no skill test. This is where I saw it. Moving to anywhere within close range takes only a free action. Moving within medium range takes a minor action. Moving anywhere within long range takes a standard action, which adds +1 to the difficulty of all of the tests. There we go.
Until the start of the character's next turn.
Well, to me, that's common sense, but okay.
Yeah.
However, movement in some circumstances may require a terrain test. This is a skill test, typically using acrobatics or athletic for the character and creatures. Though unusual terrain may require a different test. Like what?
For example, you're crossing a 3-foot deep, fast-moving river.
Oh, swimming.
You're going to have to use athletics to say keep your feet from being swept out from under you. That would be a test for terrain. Example.
So, under no circumstances can a skill test be attempted as a free action.
So it's got to be what, either a standard or a minor?
Yeah, basically you're focusing on it. It's not just something you just drop or whatever. You're focusing on accomplishing that task. So. Okay, circumstances that require terrain tests are one of 3 types: obstacles, hindrances, and hazards. And we're going to kind of breeze through this a little bit. But where was it? Okay, so climbable walls and fences, ladders, and similar barriers can all serve as obstacles. Attempting to bypass an obstacle requires a terrain test, normally with a difficulty of 1. I think that's understandable, right?
Sure.
Hindrances. The character moving... Oh, that's... where is it? I guess I do have to read that. Character moving within a hindrance for any portion of this movement requires either giving up a portion of that moving 1 fewer zone than normal with the action, or attempting a terrain test. With failure meaning that the character stops moving within the hindering terrain. So remember, if you go anywhere in close range, it's a simple action, right?
Sure.
As soon as you go into medium range, that requires, was it the minor action? And you can go into long range.
Action, standard action.
And then it's a standard action to go to long. Sure. Well, let's say you're trying to go to long range. So you're trying to cross 2 zones. Well, and you have to make a terrain test in that middle one. If you fail it,
marsh.
There you go. So it's a marsh. Or it's that fast moving water. I can run across that. It's only a couple feet deep, except for, like you said, it's moving pretty fast. Well, failure means the character stops moving within the hindering terrain. So you did not get past that medium zone if you fail.
Hang on. You can also, within a character moving within a hindrance of any portion of the movement, requires giving up a portion of that movement, moving 1 fewer zone. Okay, so you can either try the test or sacrifice 1 zone of movement. Like in your example, moving to long range can be done.
You can just stop at the march.
You can stop at medium.
Yes.
And not make a test. Or you can try and make a test and make it all the way to long range. But if you fail the test, well, it seems like there's probably going to be some trials and tribulations.
Well,
like,
you stopped at the
downriver, or I'm stuck in the marsh.
Well, as of right now, as of this part of the paragraph, you're just there. You failed it and you can't cross it. That's all it is. So you can either choose not to cross it, or you can roll and not cross it.
I get it, but I would, as a game master, I would make a punishment, because right now there is no downside. You either don't make the test and you stop in the marsh, or you decide not to even roll the test and you stop at the marsh.
Remember, a test is an action. You can't do anything else.
Oh, wait, no. Yeah. And a terrain test can't be a free action.
Right.
And if you're moving to long range, you're burning your standard. Wait, no. It can be a minor action. It can be a minor action. So you can still move to long range.
But now let Crafty correct me on this, but isn't that still doing multiple actions, which adds difficulty? Like if I still want to shoot my bow, I want to get to close in on him, but so I want to go from close to that long range. I want to pop 2 zones, right?
Sure.
I can choose to stop here and not have a negative when I shoot my bow, or an extra negative when I shoot my bow, or I can force myself to get into that close range And by making this test, I make that difficulty harder because I'm sludging through and I'm not being accurate. I'm just trying to go.
Well, the problem with that is, according to the rules here, if you're moving 2 zones or from close to long range, you lose your standard action.
It's
so you can't
it's
attack
plus
anyway.
1. No, it's plus 1.
No, it's plus 1 to all tests, but you lose your standard action. You still have minor and free actions, but you lose your standard.
You can spend Doom, or not Doom, Momentum.
Fortune.
Well, there's also Momentum as well. Yeah.
Well, Momentum is for a test that exists. You probably have to use Fortune to make the test exist.
Are you talking about Mississippi or Hunter? Oh, it's like I said, maybe one of them we can clarify that a little bit more. As of just what we've read so far, I mean, I can see that there's definitely a difference because I might not want my die rolls threatened, so I'm just gonna stop. You know what? That's a zone that I'm gonna have to make a test to get through because, like you said, it's a marsh. It's stuck. It's sticky. It's holding my feet down, pulling off my boots. I'm just gonna stay here and shoot.
Yeah, I'm going to forego the test in case something bad happens if I fail and still be able to attack. I'm 1 zone closer rather than 2 zones closer. Fine, whatever. This is the best of what I got. I'm going to do it. I get it.
All right. So hazards function the same as obstacles or hindrances with one significant difference. They cause harm upon a failed terrain test.
Okay,
so,
this is it. Like a fast-moving river. If you wanted it to have a detriment if you fail, you would classify it as a hazard.
Yeah. So what you were talking about before is more of a hazard than an obstacle.
Is a hazard, not a hindrance. Yeah.
Or hindrance.
Okay.
Yeah. Typical hazard inflicts 3 dice in physical
Ouch.
damage. Yeah, and carries the stun quality, which we'll have to look at in a little bit. So, all right, I'm not going to look at all the falling damage and so forth. These are things that are common to most games. You have falling. Other forms of movement, you can climb.
Sure.
Jump.
Sure.
If there's any one of these we really have to look at, we can stop and look at them, but again, they're part of most games. Swimming and flight.
Most people aren't going to have that one.
Yeah. Only creatures specifically noted as capable of flight are able to do so. There you go.
And there you
are. Other kinds of terrain. Let's see. We have cover. Now, this is something that's always important to me in combat. I like to see how games handle cover and concealment.
Okay.
So let's see what happens here. Cover provides additional soak against physical attacks and is normally divided into light cover, providing 2 dice of soak, and heavy cover, providing 4 combat. Remember, these combat dice are D6s.
Mm-hmm.
Light cover typically represents lightweight objects that provide little protection, but which obscure the target's form and position. That's actually called concealment. Thank you.
Yeah.
While heavy cover represents solid objects that can protect from attacks directly. So it combines the terms. I know some pedantic people, and I'm one of them. In this case, cover and concealment are 2 different things. I like them to be treated as different things, but this game
actually is. It's calling it the same thing, but treating them as different things.
Yeah, it's expediting the game process. We'll just say. So I understand it. Just not a big fan of it. Morale. Okay, I can deal with morale later, some other time. Interactive objects are things that you can.
Probably,
doors. Yeah. Actions and attacks. Now we're going to get back to reading a little bit more. There are 4 forms of actions in use during an action scene. Free actions, minor actions, standard actions, and reactions. This has been mentioned a lot, but we haven't figured out exactly what they are yet, according to Conan anyway, right? So, as part of a normal turn, a character can perform a single standard action, a minor action, and a free action. The character may exchange a standard action for a minor action, and or a minor action for any number of free actions, which again, we haven't figured out what the purpose of that is yet.
Not yet. And that actually doesn't jive with what we read earlier. What we read earlier was you get a single action, a single standard action, a single minor action, and any number of free actions. It said that in bold as standard, as everyone gets, but now it's changing it. You only get a free action unless you burn a minor action or a standard action, then you can have any number of free actions. That seems like a internal contradiction.
Oh, well, I don't know if the free action thing. Yeah, I do see what you're saying, because this read the same to me, but I get right here is where that change was. Any number of free actions. I think because they're free actions, we'll find out, but I don't think it matters how that's worded. But yeah, I could see if somebody got into an argument, it's like, nope, you can only do one, but it says any number. Well, here it says A. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't like the internal inconsistencies like that.
Remember,
because
technical writing.
rules lawyers go nuts for shit like that. I hate
Yes,
it.
they do. Yes, they do. Technical writing: clear, concise, consistent, accurate. This consistency there, I'm flipping you off. That's right. Consistency is the one that's missing there. So, all right. Outside the turn, a character cannot take any actions, but it can. Yeah, we already read that. Some actions are noted as being movement actions. Any character can only perform a single movement action during each round. Okay,
Sure.
but that doesn't tell me which one of these. Oh, but it did earlier, didn't it? Remember, moving within the same zone is a simple action. Moving to another zone is a minor
Free.
action.
There is no simple action. Free action.
I thought it said simple. Okay, maybe it's
Nope.
free.
There is no simple action. It's standard, minor, and free. Moving within the same zone, minor. Moving to one zone away. I'm sorry. Moving within the same zone, free. Moving one zone away, minor. Moving 2 zones away, standard. And a +1 to all tests until it's your turn again. Now the whole we missed it a little bit. Scroll up a little bit. There's one thing I wanted to touch on. Where is it? The reactionary stuff.
Yeah, I was skipping
There
that
you go. Reactions, minor actions, standard action, and reactions are. It's not your turn. You can't initiate an action, but someone may initiate an action against you that turns out to be a struggle. Then you get to roll. Okay, you get to take action, but only in reaction to somebody else's impetus. Now, this is important because remember, if you move 2 zones away, you burn your standard action, but you are also +1 to difficulty of all actions until the beginning of your next turn. That is worded to make sure that all of your reactionary actions are more difficult. Until you go again, all of your actions taken as reactions are +1 difficulty.
Again, I think that is addressed in more detail in a little bit.
Okay.
So, free actions. A free action is a simple action that can be performed either instantaneously or within a split second. Again, dropping something, right? Requires almost no thought or coordination to accomplish. A free action can never include a skill test where dice are rolled.
Yeah, this is more like pushing a button, dropping a flask, grabbing something off the wall that's already at, hand height right here, something like that. It's like hanging on the wall like some keys or whatever. You don't have to test it. There's no test for that. You just do it. It's not hard. A 5-year-old could do it. You can do it for free. I get it.
So, this is where that verbiage is going to be fun. In a character's turn, one or more of the following free actions can be taken without reservation, but each specific free action can only be performed once per turn.
Okay, now we got 2 against 1.
All right.
But the 1 is bold. So I don't know. Bold has more weight. Well, I'm just saying.
So what are some free actions? You can adjust. You can make a small change of position. The character moves to any point within close range. So moving within the same zone is called adjustment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna adjust so this is fun though, including into or out of reach, unless that movement would require a skill test. Why? Because free actions can't include skill tests.
Yeah. So if you for example, moving 5 feet behind a tree would be considered a free action, unless the terrain in your zone requires a movement test. Then you can't do it as a free action. If there's brambles and jutting rocks, or you're on the side of a cliff, moving at any point is going to require you to make a test. If you're required to make a test, you can't do it for free. So you can't move 5 feet. But if there's a tree in the middle of a completely flat field, you're 5 feet away from it, move 5 feet. It's free. There's no test required. I get it. I like it.
You can drop an item. All right. You can drop prone, which where's the soak? Yeah. While prone, a character gains 2 soak for each effect rolled on the cover dice, and increases the difficulty of all ranged attacks against the character from medium range or further by 1 step. That's a double whammy.
It is because if you're going to long range, then you get a, for ranged attacks. If you go into long range, you get the +1 to difficulty to hit somebody, And you also get a certain number of soak dice depending on how you roll for cover. So yeah, that's a harder to hit and less damage if you do hit. Dropping prone's pretty good.
Well, there's a flip side.
Oh crap.
However, melee attacks within reach and ranged attacks at close range gain 2 points of bonus momentum against the character.
Well, yeah, okay. That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're wrestling someone who's like, I'm going to hide from him by dropping to the ground. Well, now he's going to kick you in the face, and it's going to hurt real bad. Okay.
I hate that this next sentence has to be said.
What's that?
Yeah. Additionally, the sprint action becomes impossible.
No kidding. You're prone. You're laying down. A character may not stand up and drop prone in the same turn. Bull crap. It would be an athletics test that's called a burpee. That was a joke. Sorry. Move on.
Okay. Simple test. Character may perform any other task that requires a simple D0 skill test or no skill test as a free action. Aren't those different things? See, I was going to say that even D0 can't be used as a
free action.
As a free action. Now it's saying it can, but D0 is technically a skill test. Never mind. Nope. It finishes up right here. It fixes it.
Okay.
If the character wishes to roll the dice for a simple difficulty 0 skill test, then the skill test action must be taken instead. So there you go.
Bull crap. I call it.
I don't.
A player does not decide whether to roll. The game master decides whether the roll is going to happen. The player can ask to make the roll to bullshit his way into more momentum, but it's the game master who decides whether the roll is going to happen. So
yeah, in that case, okay, I do agree with you. It's actually one of the issues we had with Mutant Chronicles and this one, but baked into this game, essentially it's like, yeah, you can do it, but I want to roll to get momentum. Well, then it becomes a skill test and it can no longer be a free action.
Whatever.
You can talk for a couple of seconds or however long your round is. Minor actions. All right, so minor actions are a little more effort-based. Character can attempt a skill test to clear an unwanted status effect or problem that afflicts the character. An animal the character is handling or a carried piece of equipment. Oh, so you can affect. Okay, I get it. So it's not just what's happening to you, but your animal companion or piece of equipment. The difficulty is challenging. Difficulty 2, or a chart.
The rating of
The rating of the status effect, whichever is higher. The skill use varies based on the condition. Is that what these are right here? Are these these are free actions? Okay, so let's see what. I like this better. I'm not going to read anymore. We'll just look at these.
Yeah. Okay. Minor actions. Clear, ridding self or an
ongoing
item
condition.
Of an ongoing condition. That's like clearing a gun jam or
stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, whatever. Draw item, drawing a sword. Sure. Moving within medium range, costs a minor action. Okay. Mm-hmm. Regain guard, stepping back and defending, requiring a parry test. Okay, this is like a
giving ground.
Take defensive positions. It's a minor action. Okay. Standing is a minor action. Okay. That seems weird. It seems like standing would be a free action because unless something's trying to stop you from standing up, you should just be able to stand up. Yeah, and they've already said that you can't go prone and stand in the same round, so there's no conflict there. So I don't get
this.
That.
This is assuming you're under duress, though. I mean, this isn't just standing. Remember, you don't do action rounds when there's no reason to do so. So you don't. Every interaction doesn't start with an initiative. That's only within combat necessarily. So in combat, I absolutely can see it saying. Like you're not just going to pop up because you probably just clunked on the head and be right back down. Wow. But standard actions, now we are going to get in. We'll read a couple of these. Assisting. So you can help somebody in order to lift that heavy rock.
Yeah, assisting someone else in their action. Costs you a standard action as well. I get it.
Well, yeah, because you're both doing the same action.
Yeah.
Attacking a foe.
Sure. Studying
an unwieldy weapon for an attack. If you've got that, if you're a 4-foot hobbit, there are no hobbits in this game. I don't care. We're going to do the visual. If you're a 4-foot hobbit and you're carrying around a 7-foot claymore, it's going to be unwieldy. You're going to have to brace in order to pick that thing up and hopefully poke it out there. You can pass. You can do nothing as a standard action.
that does. Nope. Moving on.
It can hold an action to perform later. I don't know why, because you get to determine
Who goes first? Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it's holding from round to round or something, I suppose. Recover. Attempt to recover lost vigor or resolve.
Okay.
Attempt a skill test. Moving to any point in long range. So that's, remember,
Sure,
it's
sprint.
close, medium, long.
Yep.
Treating an ally within reach or recovering vigor or resolve. So this is healing somebody.
Yep.
And withdrawing to close range to avoid a retaliate action. Now that I want to read.
Yeah, I imagine that's if you are within reach of someone and you don't want them to be able to just attack you without doing anything, and you move back. So now they're not within reach anymore, they are close range.
React. So you can defend, you can protect, you can retaliate. So you can parry, you can defend an ally, help. That's a nice shield block there, or you can attack a nearby foe when opportunity is presented. So that's your.
Okay, we're gonna have to read retaliate to see exactly how it works, because it sounds like attacks of opportunity, and I hate those things.
I like them when not done in the same context as D&D does. I mean, second
Hopefully
edition had attacks of opportunity, but okay. So we want to look at withdraw and retaliate. The rest are pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
Standard. So raise, exploit. Oh, there's exploit. It's not on page 96, by the way.
It's not. That's not 96.
What page is it? 15. The character takes additional time and concentration readying the next action, seeking to find vulnerabilities in a single target's defenses. The player
okay. It's like aiming, basically.
Yeah. Was it spot armor flaw? The player nominates a target the character is able to perceive and attempts an average, so difficulty 1, observation test. If this succeeds, the character's first attack before the end of the next turn gains the piercing 2 quality. Okay. I said it before in Mutant Chronicles. I also hate it in Pathfinder. I hate terms like that. Spend momentum from this test to add a bonus d20 to the attack test. Okay. All right, which ones were you looking at? We were looking at they both started with R, right? No, withdraw and some of they started with R. So this was recover. Nope. Was it recover?
Nope.
No, it wasn't. Ready?
It was withdraw and retaliate.
Retaliate, okay. Oh, retaliate is probably in the next section. Okay, so here's withdraw. Using the retaliate reaction.
Fuck. Okay, we got to read retaliate first because we don't know what that does. And
there's retaliate.
Retaliate, okay.
The character lashes out at a nearby foe. This reaction may be used when an enemy attempts to make a non-attack skill test within reach of the character.
Attack of opportunity. Bullshit. I hate it.
Or when an enemy attempts to move out of reach of the character without using the withdraw action. The character may attempt a melee attack. I'm okay with it. I mean, somebody who just turns and bolts, I don't have a problem with an attack of opportunity on that. In fact,
it unnecessarily complicates something that you don't need to do. It in my experience, attacks of opportunity like this turn into a giant mess. People get pissed off, and it's just more it's more trouble than it's worth.
So I agree with you in one aspect, and I disagree with you on another. The one aspect I agree with you in, when you're doing a static, especially in the D&D sense of it, rounds are 6 seconds, 1 minute. What depends, what edition you're playing. Rounds are 6 seconds. You get X exact number of actions per round, and everything's kind of on a clock, so to speak. I agree. It adds this weird complexity, this weird tactical simulation that you're putting in there and turns it into a board game vice a role-playing game. On the flip side of it, in a role-playing context, if somebody just turns and bolts, I go poke. Screw initiative. Screw these game terms, because at this point, those are being thrown out because you're back into roleplay mode. If somebody just turns and bolts, why wouldn't you get a free attack on the person? Step forward with them. If the person withdraws in this case, or uses an organized retreat, let's go back to second edition AD&D. That's exactly how it was written. If somebody just turns and bolts, you get an attack on them. If somebody actually takes the time to back up, and do a more organized type of retreat or withdraw, it was a normal combat round.
Okay, well, according to Crafty, let's see right here. If I'm assuming this is the NPCs who are doing retaliations. Each retaliation costs increasing amounts of doom. First one is 1 doom, second one is 2 doom, third one is 3 doom, etc. So this is a doom sync again. This is getting really gamey.
Well, let's see what it says on in the rest of this here. So,
well, no, we know what retaliate is, and now because of that, we know what withdrawal is. So, okay.
Well, but I'm not seeing anything about doom in here yet. So that I want to see what the book is saying. So, the retaliate action should be resolved before the action it is a reaction to.
Yeah, that was clear as mud.
So before you push that button that you wanted to push, I get my retaliate action to punch you.
Apparently so.
Okay.
I don't agree with that either, but okay.
If the character's melee attack is successful, then the character may spend momentum to increase the difficulty of the skill test being interrupted. Okay, so let's make it not just pushing a button. Let's make it you're trying to tumble or something. I don't know. You're doing some weird acrobatics test.
How about this? Classic swashbuckler nonsense. I'm going to cut the rope of a chandelier, grab the rope, and have the chandelier take me to the second story of the building I'm in. But
acrobatics.
I am within reach of someone else who has a weapon out. So I grab the rope and I go to cut it beneath my hand. He can retaliate on me before I cut it. And if it's successful, he not only hits me, but if he also spends momentum or doom, then the skill I'm doing, trying to cut the chandelier and get taken to the second story, can be interrupted or be more difficult.
Or a simpler one, you want to slide down the banister, I just pull your foot. That's my retaliation. Pull your foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh, absolutely. I mean, you went cool, I went simple. Let's see if we get up to this doom stuff yet. Though it doesn't say. So at this point, again, Crafty, I know you're trying to help us out here, but I'm trying to go through the book. The book hasn't said any of that yet.
Oh, doom costs are listed in reactions.
Okay, we'll get to them. Calm down.
Retaliate is a subheading under retaliate is a subheading under retaliate. Okay, that didn't make any sense.
Well, now we're going to look at withdraw just to make sure that this all lines up. Using the retaliate reaction, an enemy may attack a character attempting to leave an enemy's reach. Got it? Use of the withdraw action prevents this. A character choosing to withdraw moves to any point within close range which is not within reach of an enemy and cannot be the target of a retaliate action that turn. So it's a double whammy. Okay, so it's another double whammy. So not only are you out of close combat, I can't smack you with a sword, but I can't do any sort of retaliate against you also.
Right.
Okay, and it's considered a movement action. All right. Free League has something similar, but I don't think it's written like this if I remember it correctly. So, all right. Whew, that's I mean, it makes sense to me in the cinematic style here. It's just sometimes the way some of this stuff is written, to read it multiple times. All right, there are 3 different attack methods. There's melee, ranged, and threaten. Oh.
Yo mama.
Okay. The attacker chooses the type of attack to make and nominates a single target within range.
Okay.
If the target is aware of the attack, the target may declare a defend reaction, which we've looked at.
Yeah.
Or in the chart.
Which would cost what, a simple action to defend?
See,
it was on the chart. It was on the chart.
The attacker attempts a skill test determined by the type of attack. This is an average D1 skill test because attacks are just normal attacks. Unless the target has declared a defend reaction. In this case, the skill test is a struggle. Target skill is determined by the type of attack. If the attacker wins a struggle, the target's hit. If the target wins a struggle, the attack misses. So if you try to parry, which is just another action, which, yes, will increase your difficulty, yada yadas, cause you to spend momentum, whatever the heck that dumb thing is. This game's frustrating me. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Well, no, hang on. I get it. I get it. I mean, it's if you think of it in a different way, it makes more sense. If you think of it like you're attacking someone from behind, from the side, they're not actively defending against just you. It's just you against the die roll, and that's it.
Crafty, I'm not reading the word.
You either succeed or fail. You either hit him or you don't. But if that person is squared off against you and focused completely on you, with a defend reaction, then you are actually going to actively hit him when he's actively dodging only you.
No,
So it's gonna be harder.
I get that conceptually. No, my issue is the doom / momentum / gamey aspect of it. It's not that's not the scene, and it's not what the rules are trying to imply just back and forth. It's the inclusion of the doom and momentum stuff. It's like, oh wait, so if I parry, that counts as an action. Well, now for me to do something else, I have to pay a price to do so, do my real attack, so to speak, or a difficulty. I mean, difficulty makes sense to me. Spending points to do stuff does not. If the attack hits, then the attack inflicts damage as described in damage and recovery. If the attack misses, then nothing happens.
Sure.
Specific details for each type of attack are described. I think we know what melee attacks are versus ranged attacks. And
threaten, though. I mean, your
okay,
mom is so fat, and then the opponent cries, you win something.
This is Swordmaster first impression.
There you go.
Oh, it is. So it's on the screen. A threat attack is made using a display, and the persuade skill directed at a single enemy or enemies the attacker is able to see. It inflicts mental damage, and I skipped a little bit of mental damage above the morale thing.
Yeah.
The target's defend reaction uses the discipline skill. Like, you can't impress me. This functions the same way as do ranged categories used in ranged attacks. So again, it's first impression. Where was I was going to? There's something else I was going to say about what's that?
The doom cost was in the reaction heading.
It's the reaction heading.
Yeah, right here where it says reactions. Each reaction can only be used in response to a specific set of circumstances, and the character must be aware of those circumstances. If the character is not aware of the action, no reaction is allowed. Further,
a reaction comes at a price, adding doom to the game master's pool.
Right.
It's the same as Mutant Chronicles.
Attempting a reaction adds doom. So parrying adds doom.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the 1 point of doom. The second reaction costs 2
reaction a character attempts costs 1 point of doom. The second costs 2. Oh, see the word cost here. Give will be better. Give.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Instead, pay an equivalent. Okay, so every time a PC does a reaction, the game master gets a point of doom. Every time an NPC does a reaction, he has to give a point of doom, and it gets increasingly more.
Are NPCs allowed to do reactions?
Yeah, it says right there.
Oh, okay.
It says right there.
Oh, non-player characters attempting reaction. Yeah, okay, got it.
Reaction instead, pay an equivalent number of points in the doom pool. So they are allowed for reactions. They just got to pay doom instead of giving doom, where PCs have to give doom to do reactions.
So one of the things, I know we've said this on other videos, I'm going to say it again because some people are really irked at how we're covering this. I'm not reading every word, first of all. And secondly, a lot of the stuff that we're presenting here is just to give you the experience of seeing what's in the game, not to solve all the issues for you. We're not masters of this game.
No.
Should you want to pick up the game after we talk about it, or should you hate it because of how we talked about it? Well, that's on you. But I don't have time to read literally every single page in this chapter. And there are going to be things we miss, especially since it's a combat chapter. And usually in combat chapters, dang near everything's important. But we're going to cover the majority of it. I intentionally skipped the morale, knowing that it was mental damage, because it's for me, it's not necessary to cover this this entire book.
Yeah, everyone's talking about mental damage now, guys. It's we had to make a judgment call. Actual damage is more important than emotional damage. You little sissy boy, suck it up.
Yes, right? It's important to the game, but
not to us.
Well, also, I only have so much time. We're gonna probably talk a lot more about mental damage when it comes to sorcery, anyway. Yeah, which will be next week. But I cannot cover this word for word. I am not trying to do a how-to guide on this. That would be a segment 2 issue.
Action scene momentum spends. Okay, we've been talking about Doom a lot.
Yes.
Now we're going to talk about momentum.
Momentum is a key tactical resource during action scenes. And if you want to know all about what we think about momentum, go back and watch Mutant Chronicle ones. I think we can ignore some of that today. When a character generates momentum in an action scene, numerous options are available by which the character can overcome enemies, empower allies, and bolster the effectiveness of actions. The table above provides a number of additional options available to a character generating one or more point of momentum in combat. And we'll look at that in a moment because momentum is very important to
it's vital.
Playing the game. We can't skip this.
No.
Many of these options are primarily focused upon boosting skill tests made when attacking. However, many can be used creatively for all manner of combat skill tests, especially reactions. In the cost column, okay, whatever. R means it's repeatable, so that's the only real thing to note there. And an I is immediate.
Sure.
All right, let's actually look at them now before we go into damage.
If those qualifiers are there, it can only be done once in a round.
So, bonus damage is repeatable. A character can increase the damage inflicted by a successful attack regardless of the type of attack. Each momentum spend adds +1 points of damage.
Not a die.
Oh.
Total of 1.
Interesting.
Yes.
I would have assumed it was a die without that.
Well,
so
you couldn't make it repeatable because that could get out of hand real quick.
Didn't Mutant Chronicles use a die though?
Yes, it did. But I don't think it was repeatable.
Well, we can go back and watch that. I thought it was, but so as an example here, so how do you get momentum, Heathen Dog?
You get successes beyond what you require. Every success beyond what you require to successfully perform an action, you get 1 point of momentum.
So you were doing a difficulty 1 attack on me, and you got 2 extra successes.
3 successes total.
3 successes total.
I hit you, or do whatever I do against you, and I get 2 momentum.
Exactly. So you could spend that to break 2 of those to break guard. May only be used on an attack or defend reaction. The target loses guard. Oh wow.
So So if I get momentum on you, I spend 2 momentum. You've already decided to use guard or as a reaction. I can break it. Mm-hmm. So the game master spent the doom to give his NPC a reaction. I just nullified that reaction, and you don't get any benefit for it.
Also remember, there's a group momentum pool as well. So it's not just you have to get 2 extra successes. You could pull from that group momentum pool.
But other people can pull as well. So you may not have when your turn comes around, you may not have any momentum left. But that's it. That's rolls your dice, you take chances.
You can make a called shot. Now this one requires some GM interpretation. I want to shoot his hand so that he drops the weapon.
Sure.
And some people get really pedantic about that. I want to shoot right in between here. He dropped the weapon. Let's move on.
Yeah. Don't get caught up in minutia. All right.
He should have an arrow in his hand because that means he can actually punch me now. Oh my God, dude.
No, it doesn't. An arrow will go right through your hand. Stop it.
And you can see a bunch of other ones. Disarm's pretty cool. Penetration. Ooh, what is that? The damage inflicted by the current attack ignores an amount of soak equal to twice the momentum spent. So you spend those two momentum, you completely destroy that heavy cover of mine. Well, not destroy it, but you ignore it. You ignore that heavy cover of mine that I was hiding behind.
Reroll damage is not repeatable. You can only do it 1 time, but you can reroll your dice.
Any number of damage dice.
Yeah, any number you want. So if you got 2, and then none. I don't know. I only want to reroll the nuns. I'm going to keep the 2s. I'm going to reroll the nuns. 1 momentum. Okay, cool.
And you can spend momentum to a draw. But you can see the other ones on there. So those are some ideas. Plus, if you've got an imagination and a good GM, maybe come up with some other things that don't fit on here. But I'm pretty sure these cover most of what you do.
Yeah, Omanel's right. That whole penetration thing for something that's heavily armored is actually more important than damage.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Bypassing that soak is more important than more dice of damage because you can get 4 more dice for 4 more damage points, but that soak's gonna eat it up anyway. I'd rather penetrate and have the normal damage actually do something. Exactly.
Kind of doing a cost-benefit analysis there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of games have that kind of feature, and that always comes into play, or should come into play. Like, what's more important for me to hit hard or me to actually hit accurately?
Mm-hmm. Hit in between the plates or hit him with a big giant rock. I don't know. Depends on the plates, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
When a character is successfully hit by an attack during combat, the attack inflicts a certain amount of damage. Some environmental effects can also inflict damage, such as falling from great height. Again, we skip that because, again, that's just part of a normal game. Being set on fire or encountering something terrifying. Okay, that's where you get into the mental damage.
Yes, mental damage. You get the emotional damage. You cry in a corner, like, and now you're the sissy that your dad always said you were, and now you're just waiting to die. Okay.
Now, damage is protected against by soak, which reduces the damage inflicted. Each type of damage has its own type of soak, and each point of soak reduces incoming damage of the relevant type by 1 point. Any damage not absorbed by soak reduces a particular form of stress and may inflict lasting harm. Any damage not so any damage you take will make you concerned for your life. and may actually hurt you long term. Might get that hamstring or that Achilles or that jugular,
broken arm, whatever.
Yeah. All right. I can't get over it. That's a damage. Okay, damage resolved and fundamentally the same way. Regardless of the type of damage inflicted, each weapon and technique determines damage based on several factors. First of all, damage rating. Each source of damage has its own damage rating. This is normally defined as a number of combat dice. For example, a sword has a damage rating of 4 combat dice. So 4 phoenixi? I don't know, are rolled and added together. And I don't have the Conan version. I have the Mutant Chronicles version. We saw it before. It's 1, 2, ignore 3 and 4. And in this game, 5 and 6 actually have something a little different. Bonus damage. A character may inflict bonus damage if possessing above average attributes. A character with a high brawn will inflict additional damage on melee attacks. That is determined during character creation.
Yes.
And a character with high awareness will inflict additional damage on ranged attacks. And a character with high personality will inflict additional damage on threatened attacks.
He's really good at the yo mama's so fat.
Yeah, I quit, man. I'm out. I'm not doing this fight anymore.
I love my mama. Like, oh, okay, he lost.
A player can spend momentum when making an attack to add more damage to that attack. We already saw that. Each momentum adds 1 to the damage, and it is repeatable. Actions. The exploit action has a momentum spend. It's repeatable to add bonus d20s to the skill test and bonus combat dice to the damage of the attack that follows it. That's
the called shot one. That's the, like, you take a round to gather someone's weaknesses or aim really hard for that chink in the armor.
Specifically exploit. Remember we read exploit.
We read that. Yeah.
So this is probably the best answer to that question so far. Thanks for putting it in a bullet. Resources. Ranged weapons can often spend reloads. Each reload spend adds a d20 to the skill test and +1 combat dice to the damage to the attack that follows it. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you are boom, 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 because this game doesn't have machine guns.
Right.
Okay. But so each reload spent, so that's a momentum. Okay, so you spend momentum
to reload.
Use a reload.
You only lose charges or your quiver gets empty because of problems. Doom does that, and complications do that. So normally you don't run out of ammo unless there's Doom or a Doom is done upon you, or you roll a complication and you ran out of ammo. But you want to reload, then you have to spend momentum. Okay.
It's just to remind folks, because I'm forgetting if we talked about it for this game or for Mutant Chronicles, so I'll say it just here now. This game has some abstraction to it. You don't count every arrow that you have in your quiver.
No.
This isn't a spreadsheet game. So, player making the attack roll should roll all of the combat dice indicated and add that total to any fixed bonuses from the damage rating or momentum spent. Now, this example here didn't give a fixed damage rating. It just said 4 combat dice, but some could be 1 plus 4 combat dice. That means it's minimum 1 and then add 4 combat dice to it.
Right.
It's called the damage roll, yada, yada. So bonus damage. Remember, this is brawn to start.
Well, brawn or awareness
or
personality.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if it's brawn, when you melee attack somebody and you've got a 10, you get +2 combat dice of damage.
So if they were using the sword instead of 4, it would be 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And there you go. It's a chart that we already read. So stress and harm. A character can only withstand so much damage of any one type before being unable to fight further. Each damage type has a stress value, and each based on a combination of one of the character's attributes and associated skill. Stress represents a character's ability to avoid, mitigate, or resist threats and dangers. Let's be honest. People get stupid when they're under stress, or a lot of people are. I mean, some people seem to thrive, but most people get stupid when they're under stress. So suffering damage reduces the character's available stress, but reduced stress alone does not penalize the character in any way. It may represent a character becoming weary and fatigued, shrugging off minor maladies, or being otherwise less able to act fully at a particular moment. Stress can be recovered quickly under normal circumstances, requiring only a little rest. Let me have a breather here. However, a large amount of stress is lost at once, or if stress runs out altogether, then the character begins to suffer harm. See, you were right. The cry in a corner actually hurts you.
Yep.
Harm represents long-term effects of damage, and it can be extremely problematic. Oh, your favorite word.
My favorite word.
A character can suffer harm multiple times, with each instance imposing a cumulative penalty on certain skill tests. All right, let's scroll down and find out what these harms are. Is there a... do I have to look at a character sheet for the harm? Non-player character, under some circumstances, unusual form of attack, momentum spent out may inflict alternate harm. We have harm and alternate harm. Alternate harm does not count towards the number of harms that a character may suffer each type. Okay, it looks like we're going to have to find a character sheet for this. Up here we go, damage types. Boom. There we go. Damage type physical. Stress.
Okay, so all right, I see it now. For physical damage, your total stress is your brawn plus resistance, which is called vigor.
Mm-hmm.
And for yo mama jokes, it's your resolve, which is your willpower plus your discipline is your total amount of stress for mental damage.
And you get to soak the stuff.
And you get soak. For physical damage, it's armor and or cover. And for mental damage, it's courage and or morale. Okay.
As another dynamic to the game that makes combat, it's got, we'll call it longer lasting effects for the combat.
Yeah.
Which anybody who's been in war knows that there can be some long lasting effects from combat. Damage inflicted upon the body is physical damage, blades, arrows, blunt force, trauma, yada yada. Stress associated with physical damage is vigor, as Heathen Dog pointed out a moment ago. Vigor represents a character's endurance, stamina, and ability to ignore minor injuries. We already read that.
Just a flesh wound.
Physical damage is resisted by two kinds of soak. Armor provides persistent soak, while cover provides conditional soak. And we've already talked about that.
We've already covered cover.
Yep.
I did that.
I see what you did there. Yeah. If sufficient amount of physical damage is inflicted, the harms inflicted are called wounds.
Okay, how many harms equals a wound? We didn't see that.
I hope I didn't skip it. I don't think I did, but we'll see. Your wounds increase difficulty of tests. Characters suffering 4 wounds are so badly injured they are barely capable of moving. Characters taken 5 wounds is dead. So this is very vampire oriented.
Yeah.
Let's see. For object stress is called structure. So yeah, while harms are called breaks. Okay, yeah. So if you hurt enough, it finally breaks. Okay, I guess I do have to scroll back up. So if a target suffers a single harm, if 5 or more there you go. 5 or more damage remains after soak.
Okay, okay, got it. And now how many harms equals a wound?
Well, that was
what did it say?
See, wounds increase sufficient amount of physical damage. Where is it? Character suffering 4. Oh no, that's 4 wounds.
Yep.
That might be on the character sheet. Yep, I don't see it there.
All right, Crafty, if you can tell us how many harms equals a wound, or if that's even a thing, that'd be great.
Partially for my presentation here, that doesn't matter to me. You know, you guys can figure that out as you play the game. Just know that that's a mechanic in the game to deal with. But
certain number of harms equals a wound, and certain number of wounds equals dead.
Oh, 1 harm equals 1 wound.
1 harm equals 1 wound. Oh, wow. Okay. If you run out of vigor, each point of damage is a harm. Omanal says 1 harm equals 1 wound. Then why have why have different words?
I agree.
I don't understand. That can't be right, Omanal. It can't be. Because if it is correct, 1 harm equals 1 wound, then why even have 2 different terms?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else in here that says differently than what he said, though.
Well, I'm not seeing that either. I'm not seeing 1 harm equals 1 wound or different.
5 or more damage after soak.
A single harm is inflicted on the target. If the target's stress was at 0 before the damage roll was made, then the target suffers a single harm. If multiple of these conditions apply, such as 5 or more damage remaining after soak and reducing target to 0 stress, then each condition inflicts a single harm. Okay, we got harms. How about wounds? How do you get wounds?
Oh, no. Okay, I got it. And I should have caught this before. The harm type is wound. Harm is the generic term. Wound is specific to physical combat. Break is for a creature. Break is the specific term for physical objects. And trauma is the specific term for mental.
Okay. That is okay. You know,
yeah, that's overly
unnecessary verbiage. Yeah, thanks a lot for obfuscating the facts. I appreciate it, book.
But I mean, it is right there. It's just it could have been harm.
I get it. Harm is the generic term over all the 3 classes, and each class has its own specific version of harm. Why? That's an unnecessary complication to the game. Just call them all harm.
All right, hit locations. Physical damage inflicted on a target can affect 1 or several locations of the body, which may be more or less protected depending on the construction of the character's armor. And wherever physical attack hits, game master roll D20 on the hit location table to determine which location is struck. So,
is this optional?
Creature. I mean,
seriously,
technically,
is this optional?
It's not labeled as optional, but you're the game master.
Why? No, but then you don't need this if you have a called shot, which you do. The players and NPCs have an option to call a shot. You don't need a random hit location if you have called shot. This is another unnecessary complication.
Well, I generally agree with you. I'm play devil's advocate for a moment. Called shot is to hit the unarmored part. Having a hit location table is to get lucky and to hit the unarmored part. He's not wearing a helm. You can make a called shot for a head, or you can hope that D20 rolls a 1 or 2.
See, I would make him call the shot because all non-called shots hit main body. That's what happens. That's easy. Lots of games do it. It makes combat go faster.
Well, Crafty says it's optional. I'm not seeing the term here, but I don't care. I mean, I'm the type of person who just says all things are optional. So you can house rule it in or out, but it doesn't say optional here. So anyway.
It might in like one sentence buried inside a paragraph somewhere.
So armor provides different quantities of soak depending on which location it covers. And I know when we did the Mutant Chronicles thing, I showed a character sheet. I haven't done that here. But yes, each one of these locations has a soak rating that you write down in your character sheet. So you know if you're hitting the head, well, that might have 1 soak. Where if you're hitting the torso, it might have torso. Wow, torso has 5 soak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
understandable. Yeah.
All right. Mental damage. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about mental damage. I knew it was in the chapter. Damage inflicted upon the mind is mental damage. Might be caused by fear, doubt, panic, despair, sudden shocks, or some manner of mystical or psychic assault.
Your mama's so fat.
The stress associated with mental damage is resolved, just as what is oh wait, nope, never mind. I'm not gonna go there.
Don't do it.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Resolve represents a character's determination and ability to handle stress, control emotions, and resist the stresses of life. Characters whose current resolve is low are wary, less certain, and less able to cope with challenging situations. Okay, so there are 2 types of soak. Courage, which provides persistent soak, so that's like wearing armor.
Mm-hmm.
And
mental armor.
And morale, which I skipped above, which is like cover because it's conditional soak. Right. So morale is your cover.
Yeah, if like let's say you are a foot soldier and you are facing down a horde of bloodthirsty Huns. And you're a little scared because they're all wearing the, bones and ears from fallen victims, and it's pretty scary. But your commander gives you a rousing speech of how we're going to win the day, and all of our wives and children are going to be fine because we are going to kill these blood-sucking Huns and send them back to their mamas. Well, he rolls, he succeeds, and you now have morale. Your morale is boosted. That's more mental armor against their terrifying visage. I get it.
Yep. This is why you want a bard in your party. I mean, oh God, did I just say that?
You said that out loud.
I know. I'm sorry. All right. So traumas are the harms for mental attack
Harm people. Come on.
I know.
Mental
I'm with
harm,
you. So difficulty test using, and if you look at this, it looks very similar, not the same, as to what we were talking about in combat, right? Now, characters attempting to recover their own resolve during battle or treat their traumas naturally use the discipline skill. Characters attempting to recover the resolve or treat traumas of an ally use the counsel skill. Discipline is for yourself, kind of makes sense. I can tough through it. And counsel, heathen dog, you're great, man. You're going to be just fine.
You can do this.
Yeah. Rub a little dirt on it, get back out there. So recovering from damage is as important as being able to inflict it. All character recovers, or a character recovers all lost stress, vigor, and resolve at the end of an action scene. Okay, so you stress at the end. When the fight's over, you calm down. Whew, that was tough. We lived. Okay, your stress is recovered. This is automatic, requiring only a brief rest. Stress is recovered at a slower rate within an action scene, though it never reaches a higher value than the character's normal maximum.
That makes sense. That did need to be said, but okay, fine.
Spending 1 point of momentum allows character to recover 1 point of any stress.
And it's repeatable and immediate. Okay.
Well, I would hope so. Recovering from harm is a trickier proposition, requiring 2 stages, treatment and healing. Isn't it the same thing twice?
No. Treatment is sanitizing the wound, wrapping it up, and then healing is over time. So you need both. You need to treat the wound by covering it, putting the proper medicine on it, getting a splint on it, and then healing over time will actually get rid of the wound. But if you don't treat it first, it's just going to stay broke.
So restoring lost harm cannot be done during an action scene except under the most extraordinary of measures and conditions. Character must choose what kind of harm is being treated, so you can't treat all types of harm at the same time. Remember, for a person, that's going to be physical wounds or mental, whatever the fuck it was called up here,
or
trauma,
broken leg, or burn damage. It's 2 different treatments. Yeah.
If successful, the test removes 1 harm plus 1 additional harm for each momentum spent. Okay, that's kind of normal stuff. Ooh, jeepers creepers, we're only on ranged attacks now. Come on, ranged attacks. I want to get into distances because I'm sure the attack rules are the same thing. Listed as medium, then the attack. Okay, here we go. Most attacks list a particular range category, and close range is the most common of these ranges. If a target is within that range category, then the difficulty of the attack skill test is unchanged. So difficulty 1 is difficulty 1. If an attack has listed range of medium, then the attacks on the targets in closer long range increase the difficulty by 1 step. Okay.
Oh, that sucked. Okay.
Well, that's kind of like
we didn't know that earlier.
Well, I mean, here's the ranged attack section, so that I'm okay with that. But think of like a English longbow. You're not shooting that at somebody 10 yards away from you.
No.
Not with the actions you need to do to make that thing fly. So if you want to put that in consideration, that's the best example I can think of right now. I'm sure there are better weapons, weapons experts out there can think of, but it's really hard to shoot that thing at too close of a range. At the same time, you get within its optimum range, we'll call it. Okay, it's a normal attack. But then even for the British longbow, you got wind, you got everything else and how that arrow flies. It's not going to hit, it's not going to hit effectively 600 yards away. Probably going to have to fire a couple of shots to make that happen. So every range, so whatever it says for the range category, everything outside of it is, or every category outside of it is +1 difficulty.
Okay, so for example, at close range, you're fine. Difficulty 1, or normal difficulty, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And then medium range, add 1 more success required. Long range, add 1 more success required. Extreme range, what are you doing? Move.
Talking. Oh.
Move closer.
I want to see if this is... drawing a shot is part of a standard action used to make the attack, but the character may only have a finite amount of shots available. Once the character depletes all the shots, the ranged weapon can't be used again until the shots are replenished.
Okay, this goes against what we all thought what was happening earlier. You don't run out of ammo. What is this?
We'll have to look at the weapons. At the end of a scene, the character rolls 1 combat die for each shot used. On an effect, the shot is damaged or broken and cannot be used again. So, each time a ranged weapon is used,
let's do it.
this might be hurled weapon like a dart, heavy projectile like a crossbow bolt, or even a loose rock. Got it. Drawing a shot. You know what? I prefer the Mutant Chronicles way.
This unnecessary complication. Conan apparently loves it.
I mean, I get it. I mean, it's trying to represent how you're using ammo, but
I get it. It's just not necessary to make the game playable and fun. Stop it.
If you want to be abstract, be abstract. If you want to be a spreadsheet, be a spreadsheet.
Don't try and be both.
Reach and guard. I'm not going to go through that. Some of these more, I won't call them advanced concepts. Again, if you play, you either like the game or you don't. So, damage, we already kind of talked about it. There are notes such as X combat dice, with X being the number of combat dice rolled. We've already looked at that. Basic attacks. Now we're going to actually finally get into what things you can do. And I'm going to let Heathen Dog pick 1 or 2 out of here that he might want to see what they are. So we have unarmed improvised strike.
Nope. Threaten. Yo mama. Yo mama.
we already basically read what that is, right?
I want to do it again.
Okay. This is a basic attempt to scare or demoralize foes using a mixture of spoken threats and body language. Flex. Threaten it. Well, okay, it's Conan. Take off your shirt.
Yeah.
Threaten is the basic form of mental attack. It has a range of close and inflicts 2 damage. So what does that mean if somebody's at medium range, Heathen Dog?
If someone's at medium range, that means
1 difficulty.
It's increased difficulty to actually affect the person, but it still is going to inflict two dice of damage along with the stun quality. Now, of course, if you have an attribute, which is what for this one, it's shit. I forget the name of the attribute that would give bonus damage.
You talk for
Persuade?
Which one? For range attack? That's awareness.
Nope. This is different. This is persuade, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Threaten. You're right. You're right. Threaten is, yeah.
So if you have, say, a 10, instead of 2 dice of damage, it'll do 4. Because if you have a 10 persuade, it goes +2 to this specific threaten type of damage.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I had that you're shooting a bow stuck in my head, even though we were reading threaten. It was weird.
But again, I mean, I'm making fun of the mental damage because I don't think it's necessary really to have to be the same as actually getting punched in the face. But all right, whatever.
It seemed to make more sense to me in Mutant Chronicles. Just, I don't know, it did than here, but I could be jaded. A display is a method of intimidation, a technique that makes character more effective at scaring enemies and breaking their morale. However,
the whole display thing is what I said earlier about, the ears of their fallen enemies and the bones. That is a fear display, so it gives them bonuses to threaten. The
reason I scrolled up here a little bit was to show, again, it's this additional type of threaten attack.
Yep.
So, however, each display has a number of different requirements for use. All right, let's do we have any? Oh, we do have stuff. Requirements. Unlike many traditional means of attack, a display has a particular narrative requirement. Okay. I'm okay with that. That must be fulfilled before it can be used. Each display's requirement must be met anew in each scene and are often very circumstantial. In some cases, particular actions or items may be needed in order to meet a display's requirement. Deeds speak louder than words, and some of the most powerful displays come from specific actions. Once a character has used a given display in a scene, that particular display may not be attempted again in that scene. Well, yeah, if it didn't work once, you think it's going to work a second time? Until the character meets the requirements again. At the game master's discretion, the requirement used for one display can generally not be reused, blah, 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 blah. Okay, for example, a character cannot use the stain the soil red display. Okay, that's a display. By killing a number of... What's that?
That was going to be my example. Killing someone in front of an opposing force mercilessly, and that would shake them. This is what this is. Yeah, that's this. Yeah.
Okay, so you can't use stain the soil red. That's a tongue twister for me for some reason. By killing a number of foes in one round, and then use Dead Man's Stare with the head of one of those slain foes. You can't? Why not?
That seems like you did the requirement of both those things in order.
And it seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, so what are our displays here? A mighty name, a Dead Man's Stare, flaming brand, impossible feat of might, and obviously here are the skills for. Oh, well, let's look at one of these. Which one do you want to see?
Stain the soil red.
Okay, that's fine. Displays flame brand, possible feat of might, sorcerer's might, stain the soil. There we go. Scroll over here. Following the death of several foes and the shedding of copious amounts of blood, the character lets out a savage primordial cry. Requirement: must have personally slain no fewer than 3 enemies during the scene. All right. Once this display has been used, the character must slay at least 3 new enemies to gain to attempt it again. So every 3 people you kill, you can try this.
Oh, so, but you can kill more than 3. It says at least no fewer than 3. Yeah. But if you kill more, it's the number of your victims. That's the extra dice in
yes, that's what I was going to read next. Yep. Yeah. Does X combat dice of damage, where X is the number of enemies slain.
Yep.
So if you want to wait until you have 10,
you can. Okay. I get it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, now, we shit on some parts of the game. I shouldn't say it. We poo-poo on some parts of the game, but then there are aspects like these narrative aspects. This game really seems to excel at the narrative aspects and really seems to suck at the game aspects. We should be almost done here. Riding animals, burden, I don't care. It's got vehicle combat, guys. Dude, I think that's the end of the chapter.
Actions in vehicle combat or mounted combat.
I think that's the end of the chapter. We made it.
They're obviously going to be called something different because Conan loves using different words meaning the same thing.
That was long, and it's only going to be one video. I knew we were going to struggle to get through parts of it. I intentionally wanted to skip parts that we actually talked about, but that's fine. If it was interesting to Heathen Dog, or if it was interesting to our chat, then it was worth covering it. But I like the Conan art, so I want to show it off a little bit there. But there we go. Next week won't be as long, thank God. But let's what do we have for chat?
Well, we got some start stuff you can take a look at.
How many times did I get yelled at?
I didn't star those.
Oh, you want me to okay, I just moved things back. Okay.
Come out.
Thought you were going to do it, but I got it. All right, so start. Oh, we only have 4. Okay. So turn order has changed in future 2D20 games. Oh, really? In more recent games, one player goes first, then must spend momentum to keep the initiative. What? Or it goes to an NPC. Oh, so it's kind of a back and forth.
Yeah, it bounces back and forth unless you spend momentum. Then the player gets to keep it. Apparently, the game master can't spend doom to keep it, or else it would just be a fight. It would be a chit fight, not chick fight. Chit, as in token.
CHIT. Yeah. Whatever.
Let's add more complication. It's awesome. Let's do it. Conan, love it. Yep, that's what Conan does.
Okay, Omanel says if you kill 6 to do 6 damage. Wait. If you kill 6,
and it's area effect as well. Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's the stain the red thing. That you kill 6 people, and then you decide to make and I'm doing it now with 6. You get 6 dice of damage, damaging all the enemies that can see you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Think about it. You got somebody just going in there, some berserker going crazy and killing all your buddies around you. You're gonna think twice about You're not gonna be so comfortable about being in that fight anymore.
No. It's like, no, not him, not Connor McLeod. No, not him. No.
I get it. I like it, and I in this case I like the mental attack that it does to people as well. You need to keep killing to get more displays. Yeah,
that means you got to be good at killing, and then you're going to be even better at killing because you started off good at killing. It's a snowball of killing. I love it.
The only thing that I kind of disagreed with that example is it just seemed like it flowed one to the other. I killed a bunch of people. I pick up his head and I'm showing it to you. I don't know. To me, I think that just kind of flows one to the other. You know, but the game, I can also understand that they don't want all these things stacking up where it's like I killed 5 people and I hold up a head and a 100-person army just goes running away. It's like,
okay. Fair.
And Crafty says, I can cut the head off a necromancer, hold his head over me, let his blood rain down, covering me in crimson red, and then a barbaric scream that makes the enemy horde flee. That's that dead man scream or whatever.
Yeah, but I think your friends would flee as well. Like, God damn, Jimmy, you don't have to go that hard.
Yeah, even your friends take the stress.
Even your friends are like, dude, you got creepy, man. Calm down.
So, I want to be honest about this. Not like I wouldn't be anyway, but the rules aren't difficult. No. In some regard, we may have made them a little more difficult than they needed to be. But for me, and this is why I was kind of ignoring a lot of the chat that I can see coming from Crafty. Not that he was wrong, but I wanted to present it as the book presented it, because the book is Mutant Chronicles was written so much better than this book. Not that I think this is a bad game. It's basically the same game as Mutant Chronicles. But if I had to go one book to the other book, I pick Mutant Chronicles like that.
My problem with this book is that it overcomplicates things by creating terms that don't need to exist. It's just adding a layer of word salad complication to your rule set that is just going to slow down gameplay. I don't like it.
I mean, there's nothing, I know, again, people can get pedantic about it, but there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, is that a physical harm or is that a mental harm?
Yeah, you don't need to have 5 different terms for essentially one effect. You don't. You chose to. You made a mistake.
Violence Solves Everything says Crafty is currently feeling the way I did during Year of Palladium. Yeah, again, we're not trying to be pedantically correct on every little. This isn't a how-to. So, when we do get to some how-tos that we have planned, well, that'll be a little different. I'll concede for you. We, the fans, have been asking for a revised edition that will sadly never happen now. Yeah, I understand. Look, I understand why people like the Conan game. I'm not hating on the game, no matter what I feel about Modiphius as a company. And I have my issues. We said it all during the Mutant Chronicles stuff. I have my problems with the momentum, the gaminess of momentum chronicle points, fortune points. All that stuff. I think it goes too far. And I hope that when we cover the Free League stuff, that Heathen Dog will understand where I'm coming from at that point, where it's like, here's a way to do it that doesn't get so gamey about it. But we'll see. You know, he might hate it there too. I don't know. But I don't want a game within a game. Yeah, that's the best way I can say it. But mini outside game. Of that, yeah, exactly. There you go. A mini game within a game. Outside of that, I actually like the way the 2D20 system works. I like the way the combat works. Just it's presented in this book kind of
overcomplicated.
Worst part, see, this doesn't bother me, but again, I'm used to that from the Free League stuff. I just wish it was defined a little bit more often, so that wait, what is that? Oh, that's combat dice. I just had to remember that it's combat dice. So
yeah, that's just we haven't actually played it 2 or 3 times. That's why that is.
Oh, and this is a really good point. Not that it's on the screen there, although that's a good point as well. Right here, Omen. The quick start, I think, made it easier initially. Yeah, most games that nowadays that have quick starts are
you should use them. Yep. You should use them. That'll really, really streamline everyone's thought process on the game.
So, before we go into segment 2 here, this is still part of segment 1. Like, subscribe, share. Oh, we got. Let me click the little thingy. Boom. Like, subscribe, share. Appreciate that for putting up with this nonsense. I want to do 2 things. Number 1 is to reiterate one more time. If you think the read-throughs are supposed to be reading every word, no, that chapter would be boring as heck. If you think that we're here to solve all of life's mysteries, no, that's more of what segment 2 does. We're literally learning this game with you. And I know I have to keep saying this, but I read the comments that we get, and sometimes I feel I need to. So understand, we're making mistakes. What our point is here is we have a bunch of people in our community that have a passion for this game, wanted us to cover it, hate us to cover it, let's be honest, and we're covering it for you to decide, do you want to get it? quickly get those PDFs while they still exist. Or quickly, if you can find a book, get it while it still exists. We're not trying to shit on the game at all. We're trying to present it to you in a generic but meaningful way while we're reading through it. So hopefully we're doing that. If you have the same passion that people like Conan and Omen Owl have and some others, DM James, for example, get it. The system isn't bad. You'll just have to, what we're presenting here is you'll have to stumble through the book. The other thing I want to say is that chapter was longer than the entire book that he's going to cover in segment 2.
Yeah. 4 pages, people. That's all I got. 4 pages of game.